Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditam Astama Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. May that one protect us both. May that one nourish us both. May we work together with great energy. May our study be full of illumination. May we not unnecessarily cavil with each other. Peace, peace, peace be unto all. So the selected topic for tonight is, what is spiritual practice? In Vedanta, we very quickly come to a final conclusion that says there's nothing else in this world except spirit. We can explore that, of course, as we go on. But if that is true, then why should we practice anything? That's a question that's very often asked. If everything is just conclusively spirit, nothing to strive for, nothing to attain, we simply lay back and relax and say, let spirit be spirit, and that's all that has to happen. No effort is required. So it seems to me that if this is true, then the whole subject of spiritual practice becomes a very awkward one. But the reason why we practice is because none of us understand this in reality. We can read it, we can study it, we can be told it, we can even make an analysis of it. We can go into a process of introspection. And as we do that, we can discover that logically it must be true. If we want to explore what is the foundation of something, then we have to uncover this truth bit by bit, layer by layer. With any subject, we have to do it. For example, in the physical universe, we can apply certain laws. These are laws to do with Euclidean space or Euclidean geometry, Newton's fundamental laws of force and acceleration. But as we look into the universe in a deeper way, we find, yes, that's appropriate on the surface. When you go deeper, other laws have to be applied. So it is the same with our own selves. When we are struggling, it's normally a struggle with ourselves put into some position opposite somebody else or something else. And there's no end to this struggle. So while we may fully understand, just intellectually anyway, that all is spirit, it has to be only one entity. Still, that's not what we experience. On the one side, we listen to all these lectures on YouTube. We can read hundreds and thousands of books and scriptures. We can be adept in all kinds of intellectual gymnastics and philosophies. But actually, it has no meaning unless we mobilize the heart. Mobilizing the mind, that's one thing. You can mobilize the mind in this modern age, but if you don't have compassion, and we are suffering from several things according to UNESCO. According to UNESCO, we're suffering from climate change, COVID, and conflict. But why should there be conflict? Why should be there any of these things? So we have to deal with the world in such a way, we have to shift our point of view. And the only way we can get a better understanding and catch the emotions up with the principles is through practice. What is practice? Practice is the repetition of certain things And if it is to be useful to us, and if we're to shift our point of view, it has to be the practice of something unfamiliar to us. That means in the beginning, it can be something like a struggle. Imagine if we want to master a musical instrument for the first time, or master anything. In the beginning, it's a struggle. First of all, we have to have faith in ourselves and our capacity and ability to do the mastering. Secondly, we have to rehearse, we have to repeat, we have to not only repeat monotonously sometimes the same exercises, but we also have to repeat the same principles. In spiritual life, practice only is two things, two-dimensionally. Practice of a different way of looking at things, on the one hand, and secondly, shifting our perspective so we don't get involved or affected adversely. This is technically called viveka, or discernment or discrimination, and vairagya, detachment. There are some beautiful examples to do with training, because practice requires this training. If you want to master anything, or if you want to achieve anything, just in secular life, for example, then it requires this rehearsal and training. You can have two people running 100 meters. Both will be short of breath at the end of it. But the person that recovers quicker is the person that did the training. The training is important, but we call this training spiritual practice. There's a story, of course, of a person who went to apply for a job. He saw that there was a vacancy for a vice president in a company. Then he asked, how many vice presidents do you have? Well, we have 5 departments. Each one has a vice president. He says, I would like to be a vice president. We had no training whatsoever. You had no right to be a vice president. And so you can't just occupy a position. There has to be a certain level of skills, a certain level of training, a certain level of experience, and then during the practice, a certain level of refinement, so that you learn from the repetition and you make an adjustment to do better each time. And so spiritual practice is like that. It is absolutely necessary. There's a story of the Sphinx. The story of the Sphinx. Sphinx is half human, half animal. And the Sphinx was occupying a dominant position. The story is of Oedipus in Thebes, and people were asked, please tell me, what is it that crawls on all fours, and then on two legs, and then with 3 legs, same being. And if you can't understand what it is, then I'll consume you. Oedipus came and he said, oh, that's man. Man starts off on all fours as an infant, and then ultimately on 2 legs. And in old age, 2 legs plus a stick, 3. That's fine. All the other competitors were consumed. But then, as soon as the answer was given, the Sphinx went into redundancy and got destroyed. As soon as we reveal something that is true, our ignorance disappears, like the Sphinx. And we are all suffering from this forgetfulness. It's not that we are not spirit. It is that we are spirit, but we have forgotten this essential nature of ours. And in this forgetfulness, the remedy is obviously constant remembrance. So what is spiritual practice? Is equivalent to constant remembrance, bringing the mind back to this real thing all the time, but doing it with a sense of feeling, not doing it just to repeat the principles of it. We know that anything in life that we have done has to be accompanied by a rise in feeling, a certain level of enthusiasm, a love for the subject. Of course, if we love all the things in front of us and our normal, so-called normal way of dealing with things, then we can't love anything deeper, anything higher. The Katha Upanishad tells us that this spiritual life is not easy, it's delicate. It's like walking on the edge of a razor. The wonderful image. We've just been studying the Katha Upanishad, this passage on a Saturday. Arise, awake, don't stop until the goal is reached. It's like walking on the edge of a razor. Now we can apply that simile everywhere. We have to apply a razor-sharp intellect. This is called discernment. What is the basis of it? The basis of it is that this world is not what it seems. So before this broadcast, a question arose, how do I view the world? Well, I don't view the world maybe as other people view it, because our philosophy has told us that this world is ephemeral. It doesn't last. It's changing. And the technical term that the ancient people used for this universe was jagat, the thing that changes. It's compared to a tree, vriksha, the thing that can be cut down. We can cut it down with a sort of discrimination. It's not that we throw life away, not like that, no. But we recognize it for what it is. And when we recognize it for what it is, we are looking for some deeper value, and we have always been doing it. It's not that we have suddenly taken this occupation up. So whether we know it or not, we've actually always been doing spiritual practice. Whether it's in the area of seeking enjoyment, whether it's in the area of seeking success, it is always aiming for something better and higher. This is spiritual practice. Spiritual practice is trying to go deeper, trying to elevate the mind in a more noble way, trying to engage better, higher values. One important thing, therefore, has to be a sense of loving resolve, loving spirituality, loving the truth, and in devotional life, loving our representation of the truth. That is, that embodiment for our own personal use, which we call our chosen ideal. This representation of the cosmic self, this real entity that we can relate to, that we can talk with, that we can listen to. We can be saturated with this entity as the embodiment of love. We can put ourselves in the position of a recipient. And with such a flow of generosity of spirit, we are also always the giver, both giver and recipient, in a constant flow of love, spontaneously expanding the heart to embrace all beings. Very often we hear, love your neighbor as yourself, but the Vedantic, they go further. The Vedas say all beings, not just individuals. From a blade of grass, from an insect, all animals, fish, birds. We go even further. We can strike out the wrong impression that nature is somehow insentient. We can see the liveliness in water. We can see the resource freely given to us of air, sunshine, beauty, all this expression in life. We go to great lengths to go and find this, and yet it is right here, sitting by us. How do we access this? We access this through various techniques. First of all, you cannot do anything without purity of mind. Purity of mind is the essential ingredient. All spiritual practices, all religions say, without this essential ingredient, nothing else moves. And all religions as well, and all systems will advocate association with wise people. Supposing our forgetfulness is something like a malady, then we require a physician. Let us resort to the wise people, those people who have gone before us and who have established the truth by treading the same path, no doubt, going through the ups and downs or all the vicissitudes, going through all the highs and lows. If you want to do cycling, then everybody wants to cycle downhill. Nobody wants to cycle uphill, but both are necessary. You can't have the one without the other. You have to take an equilibrium position, a philosophical position to say, let me accept the ups and downs. This is a part and parcel of the training that we have to do. So there has to be a certain enthusiastic for this training, certain enthusiasm, and a love for the end, and a love for the process as well. If you don't have a love for the process, then that won't encourage you to go on. So let's review. Faith in yourself, faith in your ability, but faith in all the resources around you. And then fearlessness. You overcome all the fear by doing this. By repeated practice, you get familiar with the subject. And you realize, oh, I can do this. The fearfulness goes away. And ultimately, freedom. It's like playing a musical instrument. In the beginning, you may doubt, can I do this? And then you employ love and persistence, and your fear goes away. Your confidence gets restored through practice until you master the instrument and you have the freedom to play any note, any tune at any time, or not to play also. That is true freedom. Renunciation and detachment is necessary. What do we mean by this? It means that we have a way of valuing the world and making a better investment. If this world is the trap or potential trap that we see, then we won't engage in it. But it's not a trap, actually. It's a provider of all the resources. When we use those resources, then we become attached on the other side to the truth. In devotional terms, in devotional language, attached to God, attached to our most beloved, attached to the source of life, attached to the very source of our breath and our breathing, the very source of all energy that exhibits itself in the human body as the breathing in, breathing out. We have to cultivate attitudes. Patanjali Yoga Sutras gives us some wonderful, wonderful qualities to help us in our spiritual direction. Because the Yoga Sutras is dealing with the malady of lack of concentration and with various obstacles to concentration. For example, unhealthy body, disease. The COVID, for example, would be a great inhibitor to our progress if you're not feeling up to the mark. If you're feeling feverish, then how can you concentrate? Mental laziness, that also has to be mentioned. Someday we feel lethargic. We put off our spiritual practice. The spiritual practice given by those wise ones and the resources of the manual on spiritual life called scripture. Some days we wake up and say, no, not today, I'll do it tomorrow. And then doubt. Doubt is a great enemy. So what is its opposite? We have to cultivate faith, the confidence and trust that everything is in our favor. Everything is provided freely, and we simply have to wait for the appropriate opportunity and take the gap provided for us. Notice all the green lights that say, go, 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 go this way. And also notice the stop lights which may be there, avoid those. Going with the divine flow, allowing oneself to float, as it were, and surrender in this great river of life. that we call divine grace provided freely, that has a flowing characteristic, flowing through everything. If we notice it and catch it, we can have a feeling of wonder, adoration, and thankfulness. Our thankfulness can be elevated, knowing that we are being carried effortlessly. Where is the effort? The effort is if we resist it. Resist ye not evil, says Christ. So let us tune into this divine presence and allow ourselves to be carried. Like a child doesn't worry, will I be carried? Will I be looked after? Will I be nurtured? Of course you'll be nurtured. Of course you'll be carried. Of course you'll be rescued. When you fall down and graze your knee, of course the mother will pick you up. And of course the mother will bathe the wound, divert your attention to other things so you forget your pain. There's every reason why we call this vast resource Mother Nature. And then, of course, we have to maintain our enthusiasm, like kicking a football up in the air. It'll come down, we have to kick it up. We have to maintain that enthusiasm. Now, it's not that we are issuing something which is new. We see this everywhere. We see people engaging on a Saturday afternoon, for example. They assemble at a certain point, ready to be picked up because they want to play football or they want to play a sport. They enjoy it, but they may fall down. They may injure themselves. They may not play with the fullest level of skill that they can, but certainly there's a coach that will tell him, look, you're not good at this, but you're good at that. The thing that you're not good at, let's practice. And by this practice, you can develop your skill. Spiritual practice is the same thing. Clinging to sense enjoyments is an obstacle. False perceptions, not attaining concentration. And then even when you've attained a level of spiritual confidence, spiritual stature, don't relax then. There's no holiday for this. Because you may fall away from the goal once you've attained it. There's no good saying, oh, I meditated for 40 years. It's enough. I can now take a holiday. No. When a house is left unoccupied, something will occupy it. Insects, rats, all that will start occupying your house. You have to maintain the cleanliness. The cleaning of the mind is a constant thing. And if this doesn't happen, Patanjali Yoga Sutras tells us, you can notice the effects. You can notice a level of despondency or grief even. And the whole of spiritual practice is to deal with this question of grief and overcome this grief or unhappiness or sorrow. Mental distress is a big disease in the world around us. It's the effect of the mind going in a different direction. Even the tremor of a body, shaking, irregular breathing, all this is part and parcel of the lack of the retention of concentration. If we want to remedy this in our life, some handy values are encouraged. First of all, Maitri, Karuna, friendship and mercy, let's deal with each one. Friendship. You have to have friendship for all. I remember going on hill climbs, for example. People have to ascend, people have to descend. And people inherently have good sense of humor because everybody's in the same boat. Everybody has to climb up. Everybody's panting. Everybody lacks breath. Everybody's running out of energy. Everybody's sweating. Everybody wants or anticipates the top of the mountain. So, to be friendly to all, to be cheerful, to encourage them, to be smiling. I often say, of course, there are two ways of smiling. One is as a friendly gesture. The other one is a kind of fixed facial position where people wonder what you're up to. It's a little bit daunting. So be friendly to all. What's the basis of friendship to all? Just humanly speaking, we're in the same boat. Humanly speaking, we're on the same pilgrim journey. Humanly speaking, we're climbing the same mountain. Humanly speaking, we're suffering the same sufferings. But there's one thing that is humanity. When we start dividing humanity into groups, rich or poor, ethnic groups, racial groups, political groups, then this dividedness is not helping us. It is by looking to the unity that we can help. And we help the unity that includes ourselves. So there's every reason, practical reason, to be friendly to all. And why not? But it takes an inner sense of joy. If your attention is diverted into self-commiseration, despondency, self-absorption, poor me, victimization, that kind of attitude, then there's no way you can be spontaneously joyful and friendly to all. It requires a shift in one's thinking. Now, what is that shift? To view the world in a different way. The world is essentially friendly. It's not your enemy. All the resources are there for your own good and development. It is all there for your training. It is all available for your spiritual practice. And all practice essentially is spiritual practice. The Holy Mother Sharda Devi told us that there is only one kind of spiritual discipline, otherwise called tapasya, for this age, cultivating truthfulness. That's all we have to do. It's very easy. Cultivating truthfulness. Well, why don't we follow this dictum? Why don't we follow this encouragement? It is because sometimes we feel it is easy to be deceptive. Sometimes it is more convenient. Sometimes what we think, what we say, what we do don't match for various personal reasons. But truthfulness about what? About your own nature. Truthfulness about the nature, fundamental nature of all beings, all things, all around you. And the truth of the matter is that this world is an ever-changing vista of divine waves. When we see it properly through those eyes, through that lens, we only see joy and joyful waves. That's all we see. What else can be there? If it is true that all is spirit, that's what we should see. Then we have to cultivate mercy. What does that mean? Everybody's suffering. Just to remind you of some of the things I say, from a physical point of view, everybody has suffered. Even now, some people are suffering. And surely everybody will suffer in the future, physically. It's the nature. It's the rent we have to pay for the body. What cannot be cured has to be endured. We should take it up with a sporting attitude. And so we have to cultivate for all of this spiritual practice one supreme quality, strength. It takes great strength to engage in self-control. Bhagavad Gita gives us a wonderful analogy of a chariot and the charioteer, and the Katha does the same, saying that the horses are all the senses, the reins are the mind, the intellect is the chariot driver, the entity that stands there, for whose purpose the chariot is driven, remains. It is your own immortal self. It is the Lord of the universe. It is that infinite, invisible. It is your own absolute, true, authentic nature. And so we have to have strength and compassion, first for the physical, and then for the psychological and emotional, the mental field More or less everybody is suffering. More or less everybody is looking for the ultimate perfection and happiness. Everyone is looking for the golden fleece. Everyone is looking for that golden chalice, the holy grail of happiness. We have to have gladness. Gladness for those who are successful. That eliminates then all kinds of jealousy that brings pain. A kind of miserly attitude that says, not only do I envy the person who is doing well, but I also wish that they come to some kind of grief. I wish that their success would end. This jealousy, of course, eats at the very heart of people. But we should surely celebrate people's successes. Let us be glad for them. Let us be joyful for the joyous. And then what about those who haven't got this joy or this success? We have to have indifference thought of in regard to subjects, happy, unhappy, good, evil. In other words, all pairs of opposites. That means there is no opportunity for criticism, no opportunity for blame, no opportunity for correcting another person, no opportunity for pointing the finger. Jesus puts it in a dramatic way. Instead of removing the small splinter in another person's eye, why don't you remove the huge beam in your own? He applies this dictum with a certain sense of humor. So all of this is being done in order to, from a very practical, a very scientific point of view, pacify what is called chitta, mind stuff. That entity that is inclined to erupt into waves. And these waves are obscuring our vision. So what is the spiritual practice? It is systematically practicing with a sporting attitude the promotion of all the higher and noble values, elevating the mind upwards to the point of truth and beauty and goodness and love and strength, all these positive and elevated values. Don't worry about the other things. Resist ye not evil, leave them where they are. All the other values will saturate the mind and take care of everything else. We don't have to deliberately make an attack. We don't have to repress. Repression is a very bad psychological technique. All we're doing is promoting the very highest and noblest of values, in other words, truth. So this is a very practical series of virtues and values that we can cultivate. What would be the benefit for us? The pacifying of this mind stuff that is obscuring us from seeing the truth. But of course, along with this comes serenity. Along with this comes a sense of peacefulness. Along with this comes a sense of contentment, generosity of spirit, open heart, love for all. These are all joy-bearing values. This is what we're all seeking. But you see, the opposite of all these values is a kind of shrinkage, a kind of going into ourselves in personal self-pity. And then you see, we have to be practical enough also to see that if the resources around us are taking us in another direction, if the resources around us in our daily life is indicating an inhibition of the spiritual life, then we should surely shift our position and take a new direction. It is surely nature itself saying, please don't go in this direction. Find a better direction, a new direction. All these resources are provided for us, and we need not doubt there is a divine plan or design for all. We should have faith in that. We should learn to surrender to that. We should learn to catch the flow and move along with it. Purity of mind, we have mentioned, is the fundamental need. Purity of the mind means that we clean the mind through certain specific spiritual practices, prayer, repetition of a sacred word, a mantra, protecting thought, purity of the mind through engaging our hands, our limbs in a spirit of charity, in a spirit of true goodwill, friendship, mercy, gladness, as we've mentioned previously. So it's a great mistake to think that spiritual practice is a serious business and a business which requires meditation specifically and so on. Yes, that's a part of it. We cannot meditate until and unless we have self-control and peace of mind. That is, in our normal 99.99% of our day, we have to insert some joyous thoughts so that they become the dominant trend. They become our habitual way of looking at the world and in corresponding way behaving. There are no bad people, only bad behaviors. And then there is the problem of self-control, how to control all the senses and how to control the mind. An element of discipline. It is no different from the discipline of training in any other direction. For example, if you want to climb a mountain, if you want to train in the army, you mentioned an example the other day that in an elite army selection, they give a person a pack. And in that pack, they have to carry it on the back, and they have to carry a log. And in the pack is some completely useless items, such as bricks. You can't eat them. But the bricks get counted, and you carry these bricks up to the top of the mountain. At the top, they have to count the bricks. Did you accidentally, lose the bricks on the way to make the load lighter? Now, this is very harsh, and people get selected. But what gets people through to the end is determination, is dedication, is desire to get to the end of it, is a desire to be successful in that field. That thirst and that desire for freedom is the desire required in spiritual practice. It keeps us moving, it keeps us going. And along with it, the certainty that whatever effort we make will be more than matched on the other side. You take one step forward to the divine takes and flows toward you 1,000-fold. You'll find it, you'll experience it as a fact in your own life. So there are two key directives in life that we have to control, and they're all to do with the senses. This self-control is to be found in sports. This self-control is to be found in the achievement to climb a Mount Everest, or to win a marathon, or to get a job in a career. The same qualities are required. Self-discipline in how you use your time. Self-discipline in how you use your equipment, namely body and mind together. And then there has to be an integration of your personality. There has to be some inner poise that is cultivated in all situations, so that your reaction is not a knee-jerk reaction. Your reaction that you have is carefully cultivated, possibly over many years. It takes determination, no doubt. In all spiritual practice, it seems to be a struggle in the beginning. But once the struggle is over, it is a tremendous joy. It is something that you'll never abandon. Self-surrender is necessary. Thinking that you'll do everything yourself with a sense of overly confident and egoistic self-effort, a sense of individual pride, a sense of self-sufficiency that is unwarranted, is actually a weakness, not a strength. This cultivation of egoism is a great, great obstacle. To let go is much better. Not to let go in a lazy way or a dull way, but to let go in a confident way. Let go and let God is an expression. To relax in the presence, the sacred presence of the divine, to allow the flow to enter through you and beyond you, to be an instrument of peace. St. Francis' prayer, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there's hatred, let me sow love. To cultivate that instrumentality is called vairagya, detachment. The body is an instrument. It is made from many, many different parts. It has to be, like every other part in every car, it has to be looked after. The rust has to be knocked off. The car has to be exercised. Parts sometimes have to be replaced. The right fuel has to be put in. All of this is necessary for this earth car. And then what about the mind? The mind has to be regarded as something like the sitting room of the Lord. How do we clean the mind? We do it through meditation practice. The capacity to take all our memories that are delightful, that are sacred. Over the last few days, we have managed to visit a number of sacred places during the New Year holiday, because yesterday was a public holiday. We managed to see, and even today, some sacred sites. We've taken mental photographs of these that can be replayed at any time for meditation purposes, bringing it out on a pilgrim journey and leading us to the sacred center of our own being. The Yoga Vedanta path is necessary. We have to cultivate moral values. We have to cultivate the specific training of purification, body and mind, a certain level of self-control, a certain level of what we take in and what we give out. What we give out, thought and speech. We have to be careful how we think and how we express it through speech. And then the essentials are there of a meditative life. The glory and beauty of stillness and silence can be cultivated. We can put ourselves in a state of poise at any moment in time. We can go from the outside to the inside. Even in the busiest of situations, we can stand in the center, be poised in a central position, radiating benign goodness everywhere. We can always have a blessing attitude. Concentration and meditation, it goes without saying, are the essentials, ingredients in spiritual life. Where do we get our lack of peace from? Is when the mind is dissipated and scattered in so many different, countless directions. Good organization, cultivation of systematic methods, better use of time. If time has become a burden to you or impinges on your peace of mind, then something has to shift and change, and the universe will supply it. What we call the universe is the divine expression through various forms and various opportunities, through time and through space, and therefore through opportunity. Some practical hints are there in meditative life that it has to be prepared. A time is necessary, place is necessary. We have to select an environment where we can sit in this stillness. We have to be able to absorb and be completely present. Practicing the presence of the divine is really what our spiritual practice is. All the time feeling the companionship and the nearness and the contact and connectedness with that divine that normally We don't feel because our attention is diverted elsewhere. A question of bringing the attention back to that point, engaging that through constant practice, is called Abhyasa Yoga, constant practice, practicing the presence of the divine. Prayer is necessary. An essential part of spiritual practice is prayer. But what we mean by prayer is not asking for things. That requisitional type of prayer is no doubt there. And if you're a child, you'll want to ask some things from your mother or father, no doubt. But don't ask all the time, and don't ask it and cry for it in the supermarket. People draw your attention to a screaming child. No. Don't be petulant. Be confident that things will be supplied. See, Jesus' example, the lilies of the field are clothed, the birds of the air are fed. There's nothing more we can do. We are in a position where we are fed. We are in a position where life breath is supplied to us. We're in a position where food is supplied to us. Digestive capacity is supplied to us. Assimilation is supplied to us. Elimination is supplied to us. All free of charge. So prayer, there's a prayer of thankfulness. Thanks. And when we really want something, we have the capacity to construct a visualizing scenario and then insert a thankfulness already accomplished. May I pass this exam? Yes, already accomplished. May I have a new job? Yeah, already accomplished. May I have sufficient wealth for me to live a comfortable life? Yes, already accomplished. May my children have a good education? Already accomplished. Why wouldn't it be? We are all engaged in mystic worship. All worship is a kind of mystic kind. That is, every aspect of worship should have a richness within it. It should be deep. Let us take, for example, the simple ritual of lighting a candle, or lighting a lamp, or lighting an incense stick, or offering a flower, or some water. That simple thing, we can insert the fullness and richness of all the wealth of meaning that it symbolizes. When you light a candle or a lamp, there's a very profound action that we normally take for granted. The wonder that fire is contained within 2 sticks or a matchstick. The friction alone is necessary just to bring it out. You wouldn't suspect that it is there contained in wood. And then what is symbolized? Every religion will contrast light and darkness. Every religion will give a special place to the life giver called the sun. And what about inside? How your inner fire keeps a constant temperature, whether you're in an equatorial forest or the Arctic regions. Many of this that I'm saying is repeated. But it is through this repetition that we engage in the principle of spiritual practice, since practice requires repetition. Not only the principle has to be repeated 1,000 million times, but also the practice has to be repeated 1,000 million times if necessary, and more. There's a great power in repetition of the divine name. The divine name, either in the form of a mantra, or a sacred word, or a term of endearment for your most beloved form of what we call God. Having that entity before you, surely the Supreme Beloved before you, surely you will lavish words of love, words of endearment, giving pet names, giving names that emphasize the glory, that express your own inner feeling toward it. This is called prayer. This is called the power of the divine name. Repeat it constantly. Surely the beloved you will have in mind constantly. Surely the name will come constantly, and the other way around. Repeating the name, the presence will come to you constantly. Of course, there are two types of meditation: formless meditation and meditation with form. We can practice either one. Meditation that is formless is not truly formless. It has taken symbols that represent something like infinity. And taking that, we can express and connect with the glory, the unity that we find everywhere. But when we want to bring things intimately, then we can select a form. That form is not just an imaginative thing. It is brought about through the revelation of advanced sages. And we have historical examples also of these chosen ideals that we can form deep relationships with. And we can allow this entity to be our beloved and for us to be loved. Both reciprocal love taking place, adopting any particular stance or attitude that you like, that you're most comfortable with psychologically. Basically, spiritual practice is practicing the presence of the divine. As simple as that. The more we practice, the more connectedness comes. The more connected, the more will be revealed, the more will be opened up. So these are some preliminary views on what is spiritual practice. Now, of course, the subject, what is spiritual practice, has no meaning unless you then engage in the actual practice. And certainly, directions are there in scripture. Directions are there from teachers, from the wise. Directions are there from your own inner experience. Directions are there directly from the divine. If you open your mind, then your mind becomes the guru and the divine instructions come directly through there. And so it's really to catch up, to catch these experience on the one hand, with the principles on the other, so that they're all compatible and the one becomes the fruition of the other. So we'll finish off probably a little early now. And for those I didn't wish a Happy New Year to you. May 2022 contain all the abundance and joy and calmness and peace that everyone seeks, but can be obtained through this cultivation of all these virtues and this training that is taken up, that we call spiritual practice. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace be unto all.